Good morning, ma'am. My name is Joel Abriol Jr., BS Criminology Section A, first year. My research title is History of the Right of the Child from Declaration to Convention. Declaration of the Rights of the Child. Known as the Geneva Declaration of the Right of the Child, is an international document promoting child rights, drafted by Eglantine Jeb and adopted by the League of Nations in 1924, adopted in an extended form by United Nations in 1959. Declaration of the Rights of the Child, published by the International Save the Children Union in Geneva on February 23, 1923, that the child must be given the means requisite for its normal development, both materially and spiritually. Like the children must be protected against every form of exploitation, including child pornography, child sex trafficking, sextortion, the live stream of child sexual abuse, and child sex tourism. And the child that is hungry must be fed. The child that is sick must be nursed. The child that is backward must be helped. The delicate child must be reclaimed, and to orphan and the waif must be sheltered and succored. And the child must be the first to receive relief in times of distress. Just encourage them and express their emotions. Help them to understand the situation that triggered the feelings and support them to improve the situation. And the child must be put in the position to earn a livelihood and must be protected against every form of exploitation. The child must be brought up in the consciousness that its talents must be devoted to the service of its fellow men. The 10th principle of Declaration of the Rights of the Child: the right to equality, without distinction on account of race, religions, or national origin. The right to special protection for the child, physical, mental, and social development. 3. The right to the name and nationality. 4. The right to decade, nutrition, housing, and medical services. 5. The right to special education and treatment when a child is physically or mentally handicapped. The right to understand and love by the parent society. Number 7, the right to recreational activities and free education. 8. The right to be among the first to receive relief in all circumstances. 9. The right to protection against all form of neglect, cruelty, and exploitation. 10. The right to be brought up in the spirit and understanding, tolerance, friendship among peoples, and universal brotherhood. Convention on the Right of the Child. In a human rights treaty that set out the civil, political, economical, social, health, and children's cultural. The convention defines a child as any person under the age of 18, unless the age of majority has been achieved earlier under national law. It required states to allow parents to exercise their parental responsibility. Also recognize the children have the right to express their opinion and to be heard as appropriate, to be protected from abuse or exploitation, and to protect their independence, and requires their lives be not subject to excessive interference. What is the importance of this research? What is the importance of this research? The Convention of the Rights of the Child set out the right that must be realized for children to devote. What is the importance of this research? The Convention of the Rights of the Child set out the right that must be realized for children to devote. What is the importance of this research? The Convention of the Rights of the Child set out the rights that must be realized for children to develop to their full potential. The Convention offers a vision of the child as an individual and as a member of a family and community with rights and responsibilities appropriate to his or her age and stage of development. By recognizing children's rights in this way, the Convention firmly sets to focus on the whole child. The Convention recognizes the fundamental human dignity of all children and the urgency of ensuring their well-being and development. It makes clear the idea that a basic quality of life should be the right of all children, rather than a privilege enjoyed by a few. Recommendation. Therefore, the Declaration of the Rights of the Child and Convention of the Right of the Child do have the same goal in their program. These documents are both helpful in the well-being of the child. Thus, the child needs to have proper guidance of adults, being taken care of, being protected by the law, and have the rights to experience life. However, neither the 1924 Geneva Declaration nor the 1959 Declaration of the Rights of the Child define when childhood starts and ends, mainly to avoid taking a stand on abortion. Second research title: Globalization and the Role of Second research title: The Globalization and the Role of Law. Dito. Globalization and the Role of Law. Globalization and the role of law have different definitions, but these two are both connected to each other, where the role of law attracts capital and processes of globalization, such as new information technologies, allow people in developing countries to access more information, models, and proceedings on which to build role of law, economies, and societies. According to Samar M. Barakat, globalization has become a fashion concept that explains the changes experienced in the world and which is accepted as the reason of the transformation. The rule of law is a principle of governance in which all persons, institutes, and entities, public and private, including the state itself, are accountable to law that are publicly promulgated, equal in force, and independently adjudicated, and which are consistent with international human rights norms standards. The importance of this research is to assess the importance of the role of law globalization. Under the role of law, the citizen can live and work safely. They will not be subjected to arbitrary government, and they are protected against any abuse of power by the state, and it is creating trust between government and citizen. Number 2, to determine the main feature of the role of law. That means the law is clear, publicized, and stable as it is applied evenly. It ensures human rights as well as contract and property rights. The process by which the law is adopted, administered, adjudicated, and enforced are accessible, fair, and efficient. 3 is to verify the globalization can benefit the role of law. It shows that the role of law correlates to higher economic growth, greater peace, less inequality, improved health and outcomes, and more educations. No matter who we are or where we live, the role of law affects us all. It is the foundation for communities of justice, opportunity, and peace, and underpinning development, accountable government, and respect for fundamental rights. Last is to verify the positive and negative outcomes because globalization. The positive outcomes of globalization is to have the positive development, as it will give rise to new industry and more jobs in developing countries. And the negative is it will force poorer countries of the world to do whatever they say to develop countries to whatever they whatever the big developed countries. 4. Last is to verify the positive and negative outcomes because globalization. The positive outcomes of globalization is to have a positive development as it will give rise to new industries and more jobs in developing countries. And the negative, it will force poorer countries of the world to do whatever the big developed countries tell them to do. Recommendation. The rule of law is valuable precisely because it limits the arbitrary power of those in authority. Public authority is necessary, as Thomas Hobbes rightly observed, to protect against private power, but the rule of law keeps public authority honest. The rule of law attracts capital and processes of globalizations, such as new information technologies, allow people developing countries to access more information, models, and precedent of which to build rule of law economies and societies. With the rule of law, as globalization takes around the world, it can help minimize the things that will happen in any place, which the rule of law is considered to be helpful in globalization if any crimes arises. Third Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. The Convention of Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women provide a complete definition of sex-based discrimination. Sex-based discrimination describe any distinction, exclusion, or restriction made on the basis of sex which has the effect or purpose of impairing or nullifying the recognition, enjoyment, or exercise by women, irrespective of their marital status, on the basis of equality of men and women, of human rights and fundamental freedom in the political, economic, and social, cultural, civil, or any other field. The Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women was adopted in 1979 by the United Nations General Assembly and often described as International Bill of Rights for Women. It's the only way human rights treaty which affirm the productive rights of women and target culture and tradition as influential forces shaping gender roles and family relations. The importance of this research is to assist the efficiency of CEDAW or the importance of this research is to assist efficiency of the CEDAW is to help to raise awareness about CEDAW and guide on how this performance could be improved. To determine what are the possible rights of all women, like to have the right to live from violence and discrimination, to be educated, to own property, to vote, and to earn equal wage. To know verify if the CEDAW is achieved their goals. Next is to verify the CEDAW did protect all women. To clarify also the CEDAW is a fair and just program, and also to determine the importance of CEDAW. Recommendation. This research is significant, where CEDAW gives a lot of opportunity to all women who are being discriminated, and where it also covers both civil and political rights, right to vote, to participate in public life, to acquire, change, or retain one's nationality, equality before the law, and freedom of movement, and economic, social, and cultural rights, rights to education, work, health, and financial credit, which these research women now who have been abused, being discriminated on, a woman who does not experience a traumatic experience in life is protected by the law, where they can seek for help against to someone who is or are not respecting them. Okay, thank you. That's all.